I have put my Outex housing together, but I would just like an expert to actually be in the flesh to tell me how to do it. I know it is really, really simple, but just thought since you're here, you can kind of walk me through it with your camera and everything like that, and I can follow along with my camera and see how I do.
Yeah, let's do it together. What I always tell people, and we'll start with the basics, is either do it on your lap. Your lap is great because, you know, it's kind of like an extra set of hands if you need it, but also as you're turning and twisting, you know, it's a safe place. Or I tell people to use a tabletop with a cloth or a towel or anything soft.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two, you want to start by removing all of your straps or whatever else you have on the camera.
Very good.
If you want to keep it simple. If you have filters or other things already on the camera, it's also a good idea to remove them, because then you know that you're starting, you know, from the best place of eliminating vignetting or other problems like that. Normally what I usually do is I start by putting the front glass first.
Okay.
So I make sure that the glass is nice and clean.
Okay.
And then you'll put it on, and it'll match the filter size of the lens that you're using.
So the ridge with the, what are these thingies called?
The nut and the attachment piece at the end.
So they're going to go on the outside?
They stay on the outside.
Okay.
And so you'll put the threads on, and they just thread. You don't have to get it really tight. You just need it to be on there so it becomes one with the camera, in essence.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There you go.
Bueller. There we go.
Yeah.
Got it.
And once you get it on, it's one with the camera, so you don't need it super tight. And then eventually we can take these off, but I leave them on for now.
Okay.
Then the next thing I do is I get the rear glass on, and the rear glass is going to attach to the tripod mount of the camera.
Okay.
And we've designed it so that you can move it and get it where you want it to be.
I know, it's so cool because it's like, you can move it around.
And then you can also see both the viewfinder and the LCD of the camera.
Yeah.
So the idea is that you're not limited to one or the other. You can get it to where the visibility is for both.
So can I tell you, I tried to buy a part for my other housing, and that one part to change the viewfinder so that I could actually see it with my mask was over $1,000. That one little part! I was like, are you joking me? I don't have that kind of money. So.
Yeah, affordability does matter. It's a good thing. And again, there's no right or wrong way, and you don't have to do it this way, but that's how I usually do it. I get the optics on, and then the cover, I normally do from the lens first. Some people have our entry kit, which has no rear glass. For that, I'll actually remove the lens, put the cap on, get the body of the camera in first, and then roll this back and put the lens on.
Okay.
But on a Pro kit, which is what most people have, I just start from the lens, and you just put it on like this. And then I pull it sort of past the front glass. And there you go.
Look at that. Look at that. So you bring it on, you put it on past.
Yep, I just go past it.
The rim.
We'll get back to that in a second.
Okay.
There you go. And then I kind of work my way towards the back, so I grab, you know, the portions that are going to go over the body of the camera.
And is there anything that you need to be concerned about with anything catching on the...
That's an excellent question, and that's why I normally work my way back first before I go over the body, because things like sharp edges, the hot shoe, those are the areas that you want to avoid, because this is very rugged material, but if you put a knife or a really sharp edge like a key against it and really pulled hard, you could rip it.
Okay.
And so once I have it here, then it becomes rather easy to pull it around the body of the camera. And I can, again, either use my lap or a soft surface, and I can just pull it right over.
And you guys, I may be struggling a little bit more than JR doing this, but this is my second time putting this on, so give me a little bit of, give me some slack here.
It's actually very normal, and that's a good point that you bring. The first installation is your hardest. It's like putting on a wetsuit, right? Or putting on a mermaid tail.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, man.
The first time you do it, it's hard and you're going through the learning curve. By the 10th time you do it,
Oh,
you're
yeah,
a pro.
second nature. I know. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Okay, so once we've got the cover on, now we're going to work the seals, and this is arguably the most important part. So the first thing you want to do, and you can do the front or the back, it doesn't matter, is you want to remove the washer and the nut, and this is where the seal is going to take place.
Okay.
So you just remove them.
So I have two pieces off now.
Correct.
I've got the ridged piece, and then I have the
one that has the threads.
oh yeah, that's what I mean. The
Right,
threaded piece.
One does not thread and one does. The one that threads goes on the outside.
Okay.
And this one protects when you're threading from rubbing against the cover.
Okay. I get it.
And so what you want to do is you notice that this inner Outex piece has a lip on it already. Mm-hmm. And you want to pull the cover lip over the metal lip. So you can use the metal as your guide, if you will, so that it's nice and even and evenly distributed all the way around.
Okay. Oh, perfect.
And so once you get it on, you can always sort of, use different angles, as you can, I think, see here, what I'm doing, and just pull it back
Yeah.
to where it's nice and even, okay? Because at the end of the day, what we're going to do is we're going to compress them together, and this O-ring is going to create the seal,
Okay.
okay? And so
So making sure that it's even all the way around.
is what's important,
Over
because
the lip.
if it was all rugged and ruffled, you're not creating a good seal. But
Okay.
if it's even, they come in together.
Perfect.
Okay? So this piece, think of the lip of the cover as male, and this is the female part. They go together end to end. And then the outer threaded part goes in. Okay?
And this is this is what keeps it in place.
This is what creates the seal, and what it's doing is it's compressing against it. Now, this is a very important point. That inner lip that I alluded to earlier serves as a base for you to hold on to. Because what you do not want to do is you do not want to put all of your seal pressure onto the lens.
Okay.
You want to put that pressure against the Outex part, the inner part.
Aha.
So one hand is holding the inner part, the other
Through the
hand
plastic,
through
the ridge.
through the cover, and the other part is putting a pressure against it. So it's like one hand is putting pressure against the other, not the lens. If I was holding the lens and I was putting pressure here, I would be putting pressure on the lens and not necessarily the seal.
And then you're not tightening the seal.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that's a problem.
And not only that, but putting pressure on the lens unnecessarily. And you may have trouble later getting it off because you put all this pressure on it,
Okay.
right?
Got it.
So by holding with one hand on one and the other hand on the other, you can get really a tight seal that you control. So if you're going into big surf, you want it really nice and tight. If you're doing just a pool shoot, you don't need it as tight. But again, you can readjust it, you can control the pressure yourself, which is frankly another advantage against other housings that rely on pressure or vacuum compression.
Yeah.
And so if you're in a shallow pool using a dive housing,
Yeah.
that seal is not going to be very good, where with Outex you can control it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
And then how far down do these go?
They're tested for 10 meters,
Okay.
or about 35 feet. We've had people go down, and the Outex housing doesn't actually care that much about the pressure.
Right.
What ends up happening is that the pressure will start compressing the housing, and it will start pressing the buttons on the camera.
Interesting.
And so your camera eventually will just stop working or taking random photos. And so that's how you know you've gone too far.
Well, yeah, that's how you know. That's how you know you've gone too far. Obviously in this condition, I'm not doing a lot of diving. I'm doing very shallow, pool stuff and very shallow stuff. So I don't have to be concerned with that at the moment.
That's good. The rear glass works exactly the same way. So we're going to remove the outer pieces, the female that doesn't thread and the thread. We're going to pull the cover over the rim of the metal so that the internal component serves as a guide, if you will.
It's just sitting on the edge.
And the process is identical.
Yeah. So once you do it once, you know exactly what to expect with the back.
Exactly. And like I said, there's no right or wrong order. And since we're at this step, I think it's worth mentioning that at the end of this, your camera will float. So even if you let it go in the pool, it's not going to sink. And you can control how much buoyancy by how much air you allow trapped in. So if you like more or less buoyancy, you can just before you seal it, pull it up a little bit like that to let air in or squeeze it out. And in a sense, you're already controlling how much buoyancy you're going to end up with.
Okay.
So once it's nice and even and you're ready for the seal, you're going to do the same thing. The ring goes in male to female, the L-shaped one.
The L-shaped ring.
And then I'm going to hold the inner part and apply the final thread so that one hand is putting pressure against the other hand and not the bracket.
And I would just like to point out, we are using the exact same housing on two completely different cameras here. And it's going on the exact same way. That's pretty cool. And I have accessibility to all of my buttons, and I don't have to relearn like I did with my other housing. I don't have to relearn each different button that coincides with the actual button on my camera. I literally, where I know where to push for my focus button, it's still where to push for my focus button. So I love that. I love that it's ready to go and that I can push all my buttons. So I think it's time to shoot some mermaids.
Let's get wet.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Okay, so here we are in the water.
Moment of truth.
Yeah, no, so after we've done the assembly, what I always suggest is that people can try this in a tub, in a sink, in a pool. And if people aren't comfortable, especially the first time they're doing it, they can do everything we just did without any gear inside. So in essence, they can just assemble the Outex housing without the camera, and then they can do the test without it. We're going to do with it because we're pros at it. And what you're looking for is a stream of air coming in from anywhere. As you can see in mine...
Like a stream of bubbles?
A stream of bubbles, yeah. So as you can see in mine, there's one or two. That is totally normal. It's just air that was inside a crease or in the threads and things like that. What you are looking for is a stream of them. If they're streaming out, that means the seal is not right. And as you can see, they float. So we're good to go.
Cool. Let's get shooting.
Let's do it.